to sunny Butte. Only, maybe not quite so sunny, it's a bit rainy out there. But today, by hook or by crook, I said last week we were going to have steak pie, so I've managed to get bits of things that I need, so steak pie it is. So straight off, 2 tablespoons of oil, any oil, into a hot pan. And then we can just get, I'm using Scottish cold rapeseed, 99p in Lidl it was this last weekend. I don't know if it was just for the weekend or if it's for a wee while. Doing 2 onions, so I've got a red and a white one here. And I'll just get them on to start to fry. They're just needing to release some of their sweetness. This is easy. In fact, we're going to see that I've not even gone to the butcher's here. I went down to just the Co and they had the offer 3 things for £10. So for my 3 things for £10, I got my beef steak for tonight's stew, I got quite a big chicken, and I got mince. Now that's going to make 5 meals because we have the chicken twice as roasts. We'll have bolognese a night, we'll have mince a night, and the steak pie. So that's a pretty good £10 worth. Oh, and I forgot I boiled up the bones of the chicken, so I got soup as well. So I would imagine with the potatoes and everything else, probably £15, but that's for 5 meals and 2 lunches for 4. So that's quite a good value, good tip. Right, we're going to just pop this into a bowl just now and stick some flour in, just to coat it, and some salt and pepper. So just a tablespoon of flour will do fine. I've brought some of my things from home, but some of it I've got in this kitchen. It's got quite a good selection of stuff. Just about a teaspoon of salt is getting added. Now this, I'm using white pepper. I think white pepper is better in a steak pie. That's up to you. So I'd say half a teaspoon, there or thereabouts. Now this you maybe wouldn't have thought of, but you don't need very much. Just about 1/4 of a teaspoon of cumin, and that'll just give it a little bit of West Coast spice. Well, Mum always says the West Coast steak pies have a spice to them. So she was all for going to the butcher's, and I'm like, Mum, I'll just make you a steak pie. So steak pie it is. So you're literally just needing this to coat, and it helps to sear the meat, keep the juices in, but it will also thicken your sauce. So it's got a double purpose. And just pop it straight in to keep the heat up, and again you're just needing to brown this. Now what I then do, I'll maybe just not brown it the way I would normally do it, because just for quickness, so you're not listening to me rabbiting on as usual. So we just start to brown it off anyway. You do it for a good few minutes because you want to sear, to really sear your meat, keep the juices in. Now, this is my trick, because meat can be quite dear. And I'm on holiday, so I've cheated. I've got slices already. Only because I'm going off it. Now, it's up to you how much you want to use here. Anywhere between 100 grams and 150 grams. And that's going to make your pie eat out, so as you're not needing to use quite so much meat. Kenny told me to open that before I started. He's probably like, what's that noisy bag? Maybe it's a change from it being me being the noisy bag. Say it before you do. And like I say, I'm not letting this sear properly, but I'll just leave it at this. And then all you're needing to do now is add water, just about 3/4 covered. You're not needing to absolutely cover it. Now afterward I'll come back and I will use a Visto mix to thicken this, but that is again up to you. Some people prefer to just let this reduce down and have it not like a real gravy. Sometimes your steak pie is more like juices. I prefer it as a gravy, but that's up to you. So I would say probably half a pint of water. And I'm going to just put in a couple of bay leaves. And then in a wee while, once it's cooked down a little, I'll come and taste it and I'll adjust the seasoning then. But that, for the time being, is just about us. You're just literally leaving this now to cook down for an hour and a half, and then we'll come back and see to it then. See you later. Okay, an hour and a half later. So at this point all you're going to do is thicken this. Now, like I said earlier, that's up to you, because Kenny, if you want to come in, you can see how thick it's actually gone already. Now that's between the flour, and it's just the fact it's been cooking away with the lid on, but it's a ventilated lid, so of course it's reduced a little. So it's entirely up to you. Some people like it just left like that. I prefer it to have just the wee bit added flavour from Bistro. Now it is Bistro I had brought a wee drop with me, so just the normal Bistro and corn flour. However, there were like some Bistro granules here already, or these ones I actually really quite like. They're just 99p from Lidl, and they go with any meats. So I mean, I just quite like using these ones as well. But today, because I'm just doing it a traditional way, we're just going to use some Bistro and some corn flour. Now because it's quite thick, I'll only need to use probably a teaspoon and a half of Bistro. The recipe will say 2, but it depends, just judge it yourself. I mean, you don't need to put it all in. And again, just round about the half teaspoon of corn flour. Just a little water. This is just the old-fashioned traditional way of making a gravy. Obviously, if you were just reducing it, that would be the absolute traditional way. I like just doing it like this, because I do like it a bit darker. So, oops. Oh, it's a strange shaped spoon. Well, that's not going to want to do that. So pop it in there. Right, just back it in, and then onto the heat, because you literally just want this now to come to the boil again. It shouldn't take long. And then once it does, you're just removing this from the heat. I've got a press here, so I'm going to put it into the press, to old-fashioned press. Let it cool right down, because you want it to be cold before you actually then put it into your pie dish. This is where this is great to make the day before, because you can have all this done and in its pie dish ready, waiting for you coming back the next day from your work, and all you have to do then is put the top on it. But I'm not sure, my pie dish seems to have been removed. Here we go. I didn't bring my pie dish with me, which was a wee bitty unfortunate, but we got a roast chicken, so I just kept hold of the piece of tin foil, and that will do fine. So that is really thick now. Now again, see if this is still not as dark as you like it. Top tip, tiny wee bit soy sauce. Just gives you a sheen as well actually, it's quite nice. But today we'll just work with what we have. Everything into the pie dish. And it's smelling lovely. Even if I do say so myself. And then we just spread it out. A bit equal, a bit more even. And my goodness, Kenny, that actually has worked really quite well. That fits quite nicely. And what I've got, I'll just show you, because I don't normally work with this one. I normally just buy the pre-rolled because I'm so lazy. But I couldn't get it here, so I've just bought the Bell's one, so we'll need to roll that one out later. But the pre-rolled is fantastic because it's already done for you, and then you just pop it right over the top. So if you can get the pre-rolled ones, I'd say go for them. But today we're going to just roll this one out in a wee while. So leave that to cool, and we'll come back again in an hour or so. Okay, almost the final stages. I've pre-rolled this, and then if you just bat it at the sides just to give it an even square, bang, 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 there done. Obviously, if you want to make your own rough puff pastry, it's not horrendously hard. There's different ways to do it. The way I would have always done it was probably 250 grams to 300 grams of flour, and then just some water, and just mix those two things together. And then although you want cold butter, you need to have it pliable, so beating it down, and then if you just wrap your flour pastry into the butter and start to rolling, roll, fold, just like you would like an envelope or a letter. Roll, fold and turn. And you do it about 6 times, and then you can either put it straight onto your pie, but if you think it started to warm up a wee bit, once it was like this was for me, I popped this back in the fridge just for 10 minutes or so, just to give it back some coolness, because it's always better if it's cold puff pastry. So you just literally, I've forgotten the water. Oh dear. Sorry Kenny, I'm just going to have to nip round you very, very quickly. Because you need to seal the edges.
She's gone.
Thankfully, at last, he says.
She's back.
At last. Right, you just water right round the edges. And that way you can seal it onto your dish. It's always good if you've got a pie rim that's quite thick. But like I said, I'm having to make do. And I don't mean that I want that to sound bad, because this is a really well equipped kitchen, just like the last one too. Maybe they heard I was coming. Then just right over to the top, and then pressing it down, and then press and nip, and that'll just give you your pattern. Don't worry if you don't want to, you don't need to cut off the edges, they can be as big or as little as you want. Just obviously the whole way around, just pressing and nipping. I'm quite sure people have fancy implements for doing this, but I'm a great believer in using what you were given, and in this case it's 2 fingers to press and nip. Might not win any beautiful contests, but hey ho, it'll taste just as good. Now again, I don't have pastry brush, a brush thing. Oh, forget it. Anyway, so I'm just going to pour a little bit of the egg on.
Oh, you mean a basting brush?
A basting brush, thank you dear. Milk's just as good. I've just happened to have plenty of eggs, so I'm using an egg. I'm being very decadent. But seriously, milk's just as good. This just gives it a nice polish, a nice sheen. Your oven needs to be at 180, which is about 375, gas mark 4. Maybe just worthwhile checking that. Should be on in the Orkney newsletter. All the timings and everything are actually in the paper already from the last time that we did one. Although not that we did it, we didn't do it with the video. These are just me now putting my recipes to video. Most important, a breathing hole, otherwise your pastry will explode. So quite deep. And obviously if you've got some extra pastry left over, just do some little patterns and things. I don't. I'm just going to pop this into the oven for 45 minutes. The middle of the oven is where it needs to be, because it will rise. I don't know how much, I've not used that pastry before, but we shall see. In 45 minutes, just what it's like. Okay, 45 minutes later. Now this is the one time I'm wishing I had the oven gloves and I don't. But anyway, we'll just pop it forward. Oh, it's not risen quite as much as it would normally with the other pastry, but it still looks okay. I think anyway. Does that look alright, dear?
We'll have a close up while we want to close that door so that it doesn't get burnt.
There you go. Will we just give it a wee lift for you?
Yeah.
And there you have it. Homemade steak pie. This is supposed to only be feeding 4, but I think the men might be having it again for their lunch tomorrow. So, like I say, recipes on the Orkney News and Truly Scottish TV, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.